First, I want to say that one of the major reasons I'm making this video on this topic is because I'm constantly seeing people post on Twitter or seeing YouTube shorts or YouTube videos talking about this very topic, and so I thought I'd sort of weigh in on things. And so in the beginning here, I want to show you a bit of that discourse I've seen.
Why does CGI from 20 years ago look way better than some of the stuff in movies nowadays? Now, believe it or not, the CGI in this scene is from almost 20 years ago, while this is CGI from literally just last year. Like back in the day, they would use animatronics and even camera tricks that would make every single scene more realistic, and it actually made a huge difference. For example, in Jurassic Park, they literally built a 10-foot dinosaur just for the movie, and the result is something that looks way better than those fake dinosaurs in Jurassic World. And some of them, they even replaced the entire actor with a CGI character, which, believe it or not, happens a lot in Marvel movies. There's also the fact companies are so focused on making movies faster, leaving little to no time for CGI to be finished, which is why we end up getting stuff like this. Sure, you have movies with insane CGI like Avatar that took over 10 years to make, but then there's movies with the same budget that look absolutely horrible. But let me know what's the movie with the worst CGI you've ever seen.
Alright, let's talk about CGI. Has it gotten better? Yes. Has it gotten worse? Also, yes. Congratulations. You're in a paradox. Welcome to modern filmmaking. CGI Today is technically astounding. We can simulate entire planets, crowds of thousands, lighting that changes with the flick of a mouse, and sweat glands on a photorealistic raccoon. It's magic, but it's also kind of garbage now. Go back and watch Jurassic Park 1993. Half of those dinosaurs are animatronics, and the other half are CGI. That's over 30 years old, and somehow still better than most movies now. Why? Because Spielberg used it like seasoning, not the whole meal. You don't dump a pound of salt on a steak, you enhance the flavor. You respect the ingredients.
I love the term "you will never." If I listened to "you will never," T-Rex wouldn't have been built. The boat had left the harbor already. We were doing stop motion. We were going to be adding motion blur to it. So I secretly started to build a set of T-Rex bones.
Steve's spirit was a little bit of a rebel. He said, well, let me just try it. I don't care if anybody officially says we can do this. And I worked with him doing the lighting and shading and rendering.
That was done after hours, and Spaz did most of the early work entirely himself. He would just look for references, look for ideas, talk about what we're trying to do.
I built these set of bones. I had to walk, and I knew I was not going to be allowed to show it. Kathleen Kennedy and Frank Marshall were coming up, and I knew they were coming up. They came walking in, and I had it playing on a monitor, and the whole deal changed.
So the next thing was, well, can we do it with a skinned dinosaur?
Tippett didn't really know this was going on.
We went down and showed it to them, and they just went nuts.
I think everyone's reaction in the room was probably the same. We're seeing something special.
I think that's when Phil got the phone call and said, you know, we're not doing the stop motion anymore. We're going to do computer graphics.
Now fast forward to today. Look at something like The Flash. It looks like a cutscene from a PS3 game that melted. Everyone's floating. There's no weight, no reality, no effort. You want to know another great example of this? Does anybody remember when they remade The Thing? Because everybody wanted that for some reason, and then they decided to use practical effects and then remove them and replace it with CGI, basically ruining all of the scenes? Yeah, that's the problem. We've hit this weird point where the tools are better than ever, but the craftsmanship has vanished. There's no patience, no restraint, just fix it in post mentality. If you want good CGI, look at Dune, look at Mad Max Fury Road, look at the Batman. They used CGI, but they didn't depend on it. They're still real sets, real lighting, real shadows. That stuff matters. Because CGI isn't the villain, it's just a tool. A hammer doesn't suck because someone built a crappy birdhouse. You just gave the hammer to an idiot. Or an overworked VFX team on a 6-week deadline. Hello, Disney. You want to see good CGI? Watch Terminator II. That's 1991. Liquid metal. Still pretty cool. Doesn't exactly hold up, but again, this is 1991. They framed the shots around what the effect could do. They designed around its strengths. They weren't trying to fake reality, they were sort of enhancing it and tying CGI effects with the real world in the way of practical effects.
Magic like this has been around as long as movies themselves. But this is different. Terminator 2 begins a new era in the way that movies and dreams are made.
Now watch a modern Marvel movie. Floating heads, cartoon backgrounds, final battles, and particle soup fog with characters who look like AI-generated stunt doubles. Every fight looks like someone smudged Vaseline on the lens. It's not all bad. There's some modern gems. But it seems like for every one, there's 10 movies that look like unfinished homework assignments rushed out the door because people were overworked with not enough time. Because when everything is possible, nobody cares about what's necessary. It seems a lot of the fundamentals have gone out the window. So CGI gotten better? Well, yes. But the people using it have gotten a lot worse. There's still plenty of TV shows and movies being put out today that use CGI in tandem with practical effects. And this, I do believe, is the way to handle things. I think this makes for better product, because it sort of grounds the film, and as good as CGI has gotten, there is always going to be some sort of separation, at least in my mind, and I'm sure eventually that line will go away, but I think it's certainly still present now, even as modern as things have. I also want to say that in no way with this video am I attacking VFX artists. In fact, I think this almost squarely lands on the shoulders of studios and production houses, and the amount of stress that they have put onto VFX artists to meet strenuous deadlines. Most VFX artists, I assume, are good at their job, but they've been put in unwinnable positions by studios. And studios today see things like all CGI films as an option that gets them out of the weeds of production and solves a lot of studio hiring issues. This, in my opinion, creates worse films for us, but they don't really care as long as they're getting money. Well, I really hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, please consider subscribing. We are almost to 1,000 subscribers here on the Outlawed Thoughts channel. Hit like and leave me a comment down below on what you'd like me to talk about in the next video. Peace.